Welcome to the 70.3 Chattanooga webinar. Obviously, our first team race of the year, and a lot of people's A race is coming up. And the coaches, we wanted to kind of get everybody together and go over some tips, tricks, and strategies for executing well. And we also wanted to have a Q&A at the end, because we think that that will be very beneficial. So definitely think of some questions and we'll have a good discussion. So we'll try to go through the sort of the webinar part of it quickly, but feel free to jump in at any time and ask a question or ask for some clarification. But I'm going to share the screen now, and that way everybody can kind of see the Google Doc here. So first things first, Friday, so the race is Sunday, and then Friday we are planning to meet at the dam, so the Chickamauga Dam at 4 p.m. for an open water swim. And the idea there is just to get in some final open water swim experience. I know a lot of people are traveling from all over the country and maybe they didn't have the opportunity to get in open water, but between now and the race, definitely get in open water, especially if you haven't. You don't want to panic. You don't want to hyperventilate. You want to be comfortable and calm when you hit the water. And then on Saturday, we are checking in as a team. So show up to the transition area at 11 a.m. to register. So that's 200 Riverfront Parkway. Again, if you show up at 11 a.m., we can all register together. We can rack our bikes together. I'm told it's a good area in transition. That's a perk of putting Working Triathlete as your club. If you haven't put Working Triathlete as your club under your Ironman profile, do that. You just need to do that. So it's going to help a lot. And I guess I'll just go through the preliminary stuff, and then Alex can take over for the swim. But so we'll all check in at 11 a.m. and then you'll pick a time to check in your bike once you register. And ideally that's immediately after you register. So bring your bike just in case. You can put it on a rack. Typically it's safe, but be careful, and you'll be able to rack with everybody else. And you'll check in your bike. It's going to be hot, so make sure you deflate your tires a little bit, or else they will pop. And you are going to need to bring your timing chip when you check in your bike, and put the stickers on your bike before you check in. Obviously, the bikes have to be left overnight. You can bring in everything else Sunday morning, and you can access your bike Sunday morning. And then Sunday morning, race day, there will be a bunch of pumps in transition. I'm sure a bunch of Working Triathletes will have it. If you put down Working Triathlete as your club already, and you're going to check in with us, we can share pumps. We can help each other pump up the tires. And if somebody has a disc, I can go around. I'm not racing, but I'll be able to get into transition, and I'll help people, inflate their disc wheels. I know some people asked about that. They're kind of concerned. Don't worry about it. We're gonna do everything as a team, and if it's your first 70.3, we'll get you all situated. But obviously, in Sunday morning, you want to make sure that your transition area is ready to go, and we want to definitely keep the transition area simple. And then I'll let Alex take over here if you wanted to talk about the swim. Alex, are you there? Oh, unmute.
Yes, rookie mistake. I'm not used to Zoom.
So
we can send this document out to everybody after. I made some notes of just like things you want to make sure you have at each transition, because I know I go through it in my head. Just like a good to know, like for your swim, you need to have your goggles, you need to have your cap, your wetsuit. It will be wetsuit legal. So definitely wear a wetsuit. We all know it's faster with a wetsuit. Practice with your wetsuit, practice taking your wetsuit off. If you want to have like a gel with you right before you start and hop in the water, have that with you. And then like some sort of drink in a water bottle that you can throw out or that you're not going to be able to take back with you. As far as shoes, I myself, like, I don't care about like walking barefoot. or like being without anything. If we have somebody over in like the swim start area that can take it, like good to know and good to have, but otherwise just know that like you might be walking on some pavement. So 2 things before we kick it off into the actual swim. The pros will start at 6:50, and then the rest of us age groupers will start at 7. And so there is a shuttle from transition to the bike swim or the swim start that cuts off at 6:45. So the swim is upriver, and we'll swim down the river, but you'll leave transition, and so everything has to be in transition ready to go when we go for the swim start. So then Conrad, if you can jump down to the bottom. Perfect, thank you. Okay, so that T down on the far left, that is the transition area. This course is a 1 transition place, so thankfully everything's together. We don't have to worry about dropping things off in 2 transitions. And then you can either walk or take the shuttle to the swim start along the road. The swim itself is a 1.4 mile swim. And so we were just talking about this literally 10 minutes ago, if they're like compensating for the fast swim, but it probably won't be super fast with the current because it hasn't been raining a ton. So don't bank on it if you were banking on it. We'll start the race in predicted swim times. And so to be like, hey, anybody that's going to be under 25 minutes, line up here, 25 to 30 here, 30 to 35, and so on and so forth until it's like over an hour. And so line up. The key to that, though, correct me if you guys think otherwise, I would say go into the group above your predicted swim because you might go faster, you'll be able to draft, and then you're not going to get stuck with those people that are slower and that like might hold you back or you're going to have to swim around. So that's always a good rule of thumb, is like to jump in ahead. And so we'll kick it off in there. Conrad, if you want to point, and I'll try to do my best at like showing where. So we're going to jump in, and it should be in like 3-second increments. And you're going to want to keep the buoys to your right at all times. So there's going to be buoys. You just keep sighting towards them. They're always going to be to your right until you reach the red buoy, and then you're going to make an immediate left, and you should see like the big archway to like get out of the swim. So you're going to jump in. Go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just going to say, so keep in mind, depending on where these buoys are placed, so theoretically, they're going to be placed on the far side of this channel, but you want to definitely try to swim in the middle of the river if you can. You can swim on either side of these buoys if the line is better. It kind of depends on where they place them, but Alex is right. You know, if they're like this, then keep them on your right. And then this red one, you have to go around it. A red buoy is a turn buoy that you have to go around it. This map is, I don't believe it's correct. You're gonna have to go around this one and then go in.
Yeah. Conrad, if I could just say, last year at Ironman in Chattanooga, those buoys were closer to the shoreline. So if you follow the buoys, you took a big turn right there. When I jumped in, I swam straight from that top triangle, the first yellow triangle buoy, all the way to about that orange buoy, and just swam a straight line.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I was basically swimming the kayaks.
Yeah,
everyone else followed
that's fine.
curve. Yeah, and it's like, hey, the only thing you have to do is go around the red buoy. So try to pick the straightest line you can.
Yeah, definitely. So when you jump in, the best thing that you might want to sight for is this big island in the middle. You're not going to miss it. The fastest way through a river is always through the middle. That's going to be your biggest current that you'll get. So the closer you can get to that island, the better. And then for sighting purposes, there's going to be 3 bridges that you're going to go under. So you're staying closer to the middle if you can, if you're comfortable with it. And then you're going to go under the 2 bridges that you see, and there's a pedestrian bridge that you can't see in this map. And so that's kind of going to be like, you're going to know, like, okay, cool, I did 1 bridge, you're halfway through, then you're going to hit 2 more, and then you should be able to see that red buoy, go around it, cut your left, and then hop out.
Yep.
Hey, real quick, I just want to say something. And I'm going to tell a lot of the athletes that are racing this, we should pair up with similar swim abilities, within ourselves, because that will help us be comfortable with each other, but also have the ability to draft and work together in the swim.
Yep, love it.
Yeah, we can definitely coordinate, and the coaches can help kind of pair people if it makes sense. And so we'll be able to, everybody who's in Chattanooga Friday, definitely come to the open water swim. Maybe we'll try to grab dinner somewhere as a group after that. And then Saturday night is our big team dinner. If you signed up for that, great. And then you'll get to know your teammates if you don't know them already, but we'll kind of help place people so that good swimmers can work together potentially and all that. But yeah, so does that pretty much covers the swim. Does anybody have any questions on the swim, or do you have anything else, Alex?
Nope, that was it.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, you want to draft to the extent possible, and one of the reasons you want to place yourself a little bit faster than your actual projected swim time, if athletes pass you, you can kind of catch a draft. So ideally somebody passes you slowly and then you just catch their feet and just try to, your hand should almost be hitting their feet, and then you'll go faster, or you'll go the same speed easier. So definitely use that strategy. Last year, the current wasn't that strong. We don't think it's going to be strong this year, but who knows? The TVA could release a lot of water from the dam. But last year, I would say that it was equivalent to just a lake swim. So everybody's time, even though it was 0.2 miles farther than a typical 1.2 mile 70.3 swim, normalizing, for the current, people ended up swimming about what they would swim in a normal lake swim, or maybe like 30 seconds slower. So I believe it was about 30 seconds slower. So we'll see. We don't know, you can't predict it, but you're going to have the current regardless. So that's good. But yeah, and again, I recommend taking the shuttle, and you will get a morning clothes bag that you can take to the swim start, and then they'll collect it down at the swim start. So if you bring shoes, in years past, that's what they've done. So you could wear sandals if you want. I'm an Alex. If I was doing this race like Alex, I would just probably go barefoot on the bus. But if you want to wear sandals, very reasonable. And then bring some water, some sports drink, take a gel 30 minutes before to top off the glycogen stores, and then get rolling. And just one little bit of strategy for the swim, unless you're, a great swimmer like Josh or Jenna or Miguel or, Katie, it's go ease into it. When you jump in, especially, it's an early season race. We're not super used to open water yet this year. It's been a while. Or maybe it's your first open water race ever. Start off easy. Swim as slow as you can for 100 or 200 meters, and then pick up the pace once you're, acquainted with the water. There's no reason to take off super, super fast. This isn't a mass start where you're trying to make that front swim pack. Like, you should swim your own race. If you're a good swimmer and you're fit right now, you can certainly, bridge gaps and try to draft. But, remember, it's a long day, and just long, strong strokes, prioritize efficiency, and you'll get through the swim well, and you'll feel good in T1. And then, T1, it's a pretty long transition. So you want to focus in T1. You can lose time in transition if you're lollygagging. So when you exit the water, pull down your wetsuit, take off your goggles and swim cap, and then run to your transition area. The day before, you want to rehearse this, and you want to rehearse it multiple times in your mind the night of the race, running from the water into transition. Know where your bike is, know what row, memorize your number so that you can go to your bike and you're not wasting time. And as soon as you get to the bike, throw your wetsuit down and put your goggles on and grab your bike and go. If you're not clipping in, if your shoes aren't already clipping to the pedals, then put those on and run out with your bike. But you want to keep it simple. You don't want to complicate things. The idea is just to get on your bike as fast as possible and then recover. So don't try to get your heart rate down in transition, unless you have a medical condition or something, but just get on your bike and then gather yourself and recover once you're moving 20 miles an hour down the road.
I had a quick question. Do you know if they're going to have wetsuit strippers?
I don't know.
I don't think they do that anymore.
They stopped that during COVID, but if they do, go ahead and use them. They're nice. They're nice to use, but yeah, I haven't seen one since like COVID started.
At the full last year, people were kind of helping each other.
Got it. Well,
and if you do wear a wetsuit, make sure you have some body glide around your neck before you hop in, just so you don't start off with a rash on the bike or something.
Oh yeah. You definitely, I got that from, I don't know if you could see it, the first open water swim of the year 2 days ago. Yeah, put that body glide on. I put like blister bandages because I get bad neck burn, but and practice removing your wetsuit. If there are no strippers, you should practice this. Like these little things can make a huge difference. We spend $5,000 on race wheels and $10,000 on super bikes to save 3 or 4 minutes, and then we'll lose 3 or 4 minutes because we're not focused in transition. So practice that a few times this week. Just stripping your wetsuit. And then moving on to the bike, I guess I'll talk about the bike, and then Derek, maybe you talk about T2 and the run.
Sure.
So the bike is awesome. It's a great bike course. It's one of my favorites. It's a beautiful route, and it is rolling. So it is not, but it's not brutal. So here's the course right here. You can kind of see it's a lollipop. So transition area, and then you ride out of town, and you need to be careful because there are railroad crossings here and people launch their nutrition all the time here. So make sure your nutrition is secure, especially that rear bottle cage. You can use rubber bands to make sure the bottles don't fly out. And then you're just basically going to hop on the highway here, Chattanooga Valley Road, and then you're going to go down here, and you're going to hit the first aid station at the 15-mile mark. So my recommendation is down your first bottle of nutrition before the 15-mile mark, then ditch the bottle and then grab another bottle here, and then keep rolling. So this road, the highway, is it's you can go pretty fast. There are rollers, but they're fairly short, so you can power through them. So this course, if you know how to ride your bike and handle your bike, you can ride this course pretty quickly, even though it's like 2,400 feet of elevation gain, because you can punch over the hills and you can maintain momentum. So keep constant pressure on the pedals. You don't want to go zone 5 into every little roller, but be assertive, get over the hill, use your gearing, and stay aero, because you can fly on this highway. And then you go down, and around the 26-mile mark, you make kind of the sharp left, and there's a big climb. So it's Andrews Lane, and this climb, it takes a few minutes to get up it, and it's one of the longer climbs on the course. So you want to be aware of it, that as soon as you make this turn, you're going to be on the hill. So start shifting down as you're turning, and use your gearing to get up it. You want a decent cassette on the back, like an 1128, an 1130 even. It depends how strong of a rider you are, but you don't want to run an 1123. You probably don't want to run an 1125. Go with a larger cassette so you have your gears, because this climb is, it's not insane. It's not like you're climbing the Col de Vence or something, but it's a couple hundred feet. And then there's a really steep descent. Be careful on that descent at around the 26, 27-mile mark. If you're in a pack, try to get ahead of the pack before the descent, so that you aren't, in danger, and that you aren't held back by slower riders who are riding next to each other, riding their brakes, because you can fly down this hill. Be careful, ride to your skill level. And then at around mile 30, you'll have another aid station. So the aid stations are basically every 15 miles, so that's easy to remember. And then you're going to fly through here. You're going to go through, I guess it's the town of Chickamauga. So it's a beautiful drive. This right here is probably my favorite part of the course. You're in farm country and you ride through the town, spectators everywhere. It's really exciting. It's really fun. And then you're going to turn, and at around mile 40-ish, there's another big climb. So, and this climb I think it's actually bigger than Andrews. And so again, use your gearing, but once you're at the top of this climb, it's all downhill from here. So once you're past, like the 45 mile mark, the last 12 miles into town, 10, 12 miles, you can fly. So you really need to stay aero here because it matters. So get low, get narrow. Your neck is probably going to be hurting. You're going to want to be sitting up, but don't. Just stay down and power back to transition. You can make up a lot of time. You can pass a lot of people. This is one of the ways you have a fast bike split is you just obsess about keeping your head down the whole way back to town, and you don't get complacent. One of the WT always be's is always be passing, always be passing. Don't get trapped behind a group and settle in. You want to, ride appropriately to your fitness, adhere to your power targets, but don't soft pedal, have urgency. This is a race. It's long, but you can, if you ride efficiently on this course, you can ride it fast and without burning all of your matches. But let me see if I missed anything here. But yeah, so Andrews Lane, mile 26, Chickamauga Road, mile 40. Just remember those because that's when the climbs are. So you kind of want to take nutrition before the climbs, and I recommend taking some caffeine right after the Andrews Lane climb. I'm an advocate of using caffeine strategically. So right here, halfway through the bike is when you start to kind of zone out and you lose focus, you start putting out less power. You can rage against that by taking some caffeine. 35, 50 milligrams is good. I like the 100 milligram caffeine Cliff shots. The espresso shots, they're my favorite. They give you life, and then you can, fly on the second half of the course and keep passing people. But yeah, so that is the gist of the bike course. Any questions on the bike?
So, question about like group dynamics, saying if you get stuck in a pack, right? So last year I had issues. I got stuck in a pack, and go to pass them. You have 25 seconds for each rider, right? So you go by 6, 7 riders, putting down effort, and then when you get to the front, you don't necessarily have the power to keep up your effort, and then you just end up losing it back when the pack pulls you back in.
You're way stronger this year, Matt.
I mean, is it just when you ride through a pack, just when you make the decision, just go and just drop them?
I would say the key to passing athletes, and especially a pack, is not spiking your power. If you're passing them, you should pass them steadily. And the 25-second rule is, that's, the officials are pretty generous with that one. As long as you're making progress, you'll be okay. But you kind of have to make that decision. Like if you're swallowed up by a pack and they pass you and you're part of the pack, that's probably, it's probably the case that you shouldn't try to pass them, because you might, even if you're at the legal draft distance, you're going to be drafting. You're going to have the ability to put out fewer watts and go the same speed. And we've seen this in Ironmans. It's been an issue at Kona for decades, and they kind of stopped that 3 years ago because now they have a rolling start and they're strategic about waves. And at Texas, you have these big, huge pace lines. And at Chattanooga, it's possible for those to develop because it's a big race. I mean, I know in 2019, I think it was the biggest Ironman event, triathlon event ever held on a single day. There was over 3,000 athletes. So you might be trapped in a pace line, but be honest with yourself and when you pass somebody, you're going to have to put out a little bit more power, probably above your target, but you still want to be steady and you want to keep your VI low. You don't want your power to spike because then you're just burning matches. But if you pass a lot of, I know you're asking if you pass a lot of people and you go above your race target and then you're tired, well, that effort was probably too intense to pass them. So I would just lower the power.
Yeah, I guess like maybe a better question is if you're giving up to one of these groups and the first person passes you, you have to give them 6 lengths, but they might have a train behind them, like just pulling, and like as you're dropping back your 6 lengths, you're just giving up more and more ground. Can you fight the followers in the pack if you start to get overcome and not get a penalty?
Yeah. So Matt, that's a good question. And I think some people will experience this, but as long as you are making the effort to pass and the effort to drop back, you're not going to get a penalty. But in that scenario, if you do get consumed by a pack, yeah, you do. It is your obligation to drop back 6 bike lengths. So if there's multiple bikes passing you, you might need a soft pedal before you make a pass again. But if it's the case where it's one or a couple of different riders and you keep on going back and forth, there's probably actually an advantage there because you're slipping in and out of the draft zone. Even if it's at the legal distance of 6 bike lengths, you're probably going to get a benefit there. And as age groupers, you can slipstream, so you can ride up right behind someone and then make the pass. Rather than pros, they have to move outside of the zone or the penalty, or I'm sorry, the draft zone, which is like 2 meters on either side of the bike too. But if you do see like a big pack, then you may need to drop all the way back before you make another pass again. And just be aware of your surroundings too. So like obviously if there's a marshal coming up, just drop back, make sure you're making that conscious effort to drop back.
Yeah. And in that situation, that pack is moving faster than you anyway. So, in theory, you should have the ability to at least maintain the same speed. Yeah, you might end up soft pedaling, or you might feel like you're soft pedaling because you're catching all of their drafts. But once they all pass you, you're going to be part of that train. And then it could be a good thing. So. And
one other note, on probably around between mile 30, 35, when you're going into Chickamauga, there are some rumble strips. They should be on this course. I know the full course cuts it off a little bit, but they should be on there. And if you see, there should be signs saying rumble strips ahead. Just put one hand on your rear brake just in case, because last year it scared the shit out of me. And like you just kind of swerve a little bit. And there was actually an athlete who had a pretty bad wreck. Her front wheel just turned and she went face first. So, just watch out for if it says rumble strips ahead, just be ready for it.
Yep. Good tip.
And then one other thing to add, Conrad, when you need to get transition, because most of us should, or you should at least be comfortable with getting it in case you lose a bottle and you have to get some Gatorade Endurance. Just some tips for it: slow down, come up onto your handlebars, look directly at one of the volunteers and like point to them and like be like, "It's you, Conrad, I'm getting water from you." And then, yell, definitely slow down. And then you just have to like grab it as you pass. If you've ever been on like one of those carousel rides and you have to grab the rings, that's what it's like. So, you don't have to stop, but you do definitely have to slow down. Like, it's not courteous to the volunteers if you're going 25, 30 miles per hour past them. Like, they're not going to be able to give it to you. But
yeah, and you're not gonna be able to grab it at that speed anyway. Yeah. You'll knock it right out of their hand.
Right.
Yeah. And then just be careful because there's also other people who will be possibly stopping to get water.
Yeah, definitely. And it's wise, if you're in a pack or something, or you're on the verge of passing people, if an aid station is coming up, try to get in front of them. And because you don't want, somebody knocking all the bottles out of the volunteers' hands. But again, mile 15, 30, and then 45, you're going to have an aid station. A lot of people, this is their first 70 Ironman branded event. The aid stations are like 100 meters long, dozens of volunteers holding out bottles of water and Gatorade endurance and gels. So again, like Alex said, slow down and grab them.
Yeah, look how they're holding it too. If that person has a death grip on the bottle, like don't pick that person. Like if they're holding it flat in their hand or they're holding it by the top, you got a chance.
Right. And if
For
you
those of us,
miss, go ahead.
oh, sorry. For those of us who might be a little bit more timid coming into like a aid station like that to grab water or Gatorade, is there an appropriate place if you were wanting to like stop, get off your bike and grab it because you don't feel comfortable actually moving while grabbing it? Like, is there like, do you do it right at the start of it? Is there any sort of strategy to be more courteous to other participants?
You just have to pull over to the side. You should be able to pull over anywhere at the end of the aid station, or sometimes I think it's in the middle. There are porta potties. I think at every aid station there should be, and but people do pull over. I don't think there's a designated area to pull over at every aid station, but it's just be careful, be aware of your surroundings, signal, say, like point to the right and say you're slowing down. But if you just get over, you'll be good.
Conrad, I did that in the race in December, and I was like really anxious about that, Alex, in terms of when to stop. In the first aid station, I stopped right at the beginning, and I thought that was like I didn't know how far the aid station actually went. And then when I stopped at the other two, I actually like rode in a little bit longer because there's a lot more commotion at the beginning of that aid station than later on. So, Alex, I would like get past the first 2 or 3 volunteers before kind of pulling off.
Thank you.
That's a good tip.
Yeah, and if you're not going to stop, then stay way the hell to the left. So
yeah,
some person trying to clip in doesn't just swerve over and T-bone you.
Yep, exactly. Any questions about the bike? When it comes to strategy, again, on this course, you want to be assertive on the hills, and stay aero, especially when you're coming back. I don't know if the bottom, no, it's not. If you go on the Ironman website, you can kind of see the elevation. It actually might be, I might have it up right here. Well, that's somebody's doing Hawaii, but it is all downhill on the way back. So you will negative split that. You can negative split this. So don't be surprised if your average speed in the first half of this ride is a little bit slower than typical, because this is the elevation profile. It's basically kind of a steady climb out. This is Andrews Hill. This doesn't really do the hill justice. And then you have this really steep descent, and then you ride through Chickamauga. It's beautiful. This is where I think the rumble strips are. And then you have this climb just right past Chickamauga. And then after that, get low. You'll fly on the way back, and take caffeine right here. That's what I recommend. But your body, don't take caffeine for the first time on race day. But it's an ergogenic aid, so use it strategically. Don't take a lot of caffeine early on in the morning. Save it for right here. It'll help. Do you want to, any other questions about the bike?
Yeah, I can share my screen if you want. Let's see if I can.
You want to?
Well, yeah. What I'll do is I'll share my profile, or my the file from one of the races, and
cool.
Then it can be a little bit more interactive too. So let's see here.
So do you recraft? Okay, nice.
Can you guys see that?
Yep.
So the run course on the Chattanooga website claims it's 820 feet. This, I had it at 653.
That's what it is.
Yeah,
I looked at everybody's that I've like
Yeah.
ever coached. Yeah.
Yeah, so I wanted to share this. That way you guys can see the hills and the climbs. I guess we'll start with T2. As you enter T2, obviously dismount before the mount line. Run your bike into transition. It's a fair transition. So you enter at one corner, you exit the other corner. When you rack your bike, get your shoes on as fast as you can, and then grab your hat, sunglasses, and bib and just start running. Okay. Don't worry about getting that stuff on while you're in transition because you're losing time at that moment. You can put it on while you're moving. When you exit transition, there's a U-turn pretty quickly here. So can you guys see it moving on the screen?
Yep.
Okay, perfect. So when you exit here, there's a U-turn right here. All right, so you're about, quarter mile in. The first climb starts about three-quarter mile in, and you run right down the riverfront right here. This climb is deceptive. It's kind of deceptive, so you want to be cautious with it. It's early in the race. Your RPE is going to be pretty low at this point, so you want to make sure you take this hill with be a little bit more conservative than you think you need to be. I just looked at the forecast. It looks like it's going to be a high of 94 degrees on Saturday or Sunday. On Saturday, so Sunday, I'd imagine it's going to be around the same temperature, with a high or low in the morning around 70. So it's going to be a warm day. As you guys are thinking about moving through the run, you got to stay cool. As one of the three WTs, always be wetting. So ice, sponges, water at every aid station. You're going to have to use RPE and your heart rate as you move through the run. Pace is not going to be a great indicator of how your performance on this course on this day, unless a storm rolls through and it's 70 degrees and overcast on race morning. Anything can happen. We're still over a week out, so we don't know exactly what the weather is going to be like just yet. So yeah, first climb right here, about three-quarter mile in, and you run along the highway here, so it's pretty exposed up here. Up until, and there's a little out and back along the riverbank here. Back here, there's a little bit of shade, a lot of volunteers, a lot of spectators back here, so it's a lot of fun. A lot of energy in this area. This hill is Battery Hill. Right here, it's a pretty steep climb up to the top, and there's a Red Bull station always right at the top as well. So this is a really steep hill, and as you descend down it to the bridge, it's a very steep downhill and a very hard right-hand turn as you turn onto the bridge to cross the river. Another really exposed area here as you cross the river. It's a vehicle bridge, so no shade at all. And there's another, so the pedestrian bridge as well. You climb. It's deceptive. When you look at it, it doesn't look like there's a hill there, but you're going all uphill across the pedestrian bridge until you make your second turn. So the second turn right in this area, actually this whole area here in the pedestrian bridge, a lot of spectators, a lot more energy. But right here, there's a lot of people and spectators. You got to make sure when you make the turn to the second loop that you continue to the right. I know an athlete a couple years ago made the full left-hand turn, went to the finish line and realized that they reached the finish way before they're finished. And morally, they're destroyed. It had to turn around, walk all the way back to where they needed to get on. So from right here, you basically complete the second loop, which is following the highway again. Again, very exposed right here. Right here, not a very interesting area. You run through a parking lot. And then by the second loop, you're going to see a lot more people as people are entering the course. So it's going to be crowded on that second loop. So just make sure you are being mindful of who's out there. Be vigilant. That way, if anyone's stepping in front of you, if you're passing anyone, you're aware of that. And it's going to be crowded. And the aid stations will get really crowded. So if you're coming up on an aid station and you need something, you got to make a decision whether to get there before other people or hold back and wait. The other thing about the aid stations too, it's going to be hot. You guys are going to face some pretty dark moments during this race. You got to find that mindset that's going to keep you going, especially as you enter the second loop. Right around here, you get a little bit of shade as well on the first and second loop. And then again, you hit Battery Hill again, super steep. And then a really steep descent. So by the second loop here, once you hit this descent and that hard right turn, your quads are going to be screaming at you. So just be aware that as you descend off of Battery Hill onto the bridge, just be really careful you don't run right through and miss that right-hand turn. Your body emotions or your muscles just start to cramp up at that point. Again, over the hill or over the bridge, very exposed here. And then a quick out and back before you make your last turn over the pedestrian bridge. And then once you reach the top of the pedestrian bridge, it's all downhill to the finish. So when you make the finish line, you run through the crowd again right here as you exit the pedestrian bridge. And you do like a full, almost full circle, and then you go right underneath the pedestrian bridge, right to the finish line. This course is not easy, especially when it's sunny and exposed. But I will say the crowd support here is probably one of the best I've ever experienced at an Ironman course. Aside from probably St. George, that was pretty phenomenal. But make sure you guys have those positive mental notes in your head, when you start facing some adversity on that run course. You're going to want to stay as cool as you can for as long as you can. So if you need, don't hesitate to take a split second to grab water or ice. Don't get so caught up in the moment that you miss that, because every opportunity you have to cool down is going to be important on this run. Any questions right now?
How the heck do you hold 95 to 100 strides per minute throughout the half marathon?
So this was my first time at the race, and it's actually my fastest time at the race. I ran a 1:17 there. I was hoping to run faster next week, but I don't know if that's going to happen.
Derek, you have to think when you're in those dark places how to get out of them.
Yeah, well, this race, I'll never forget the night before, there was a storm that rolled through, and you could see, actually, I remember looking out the hotel window, and a storm rolled, and you couldn't see Lookout Mountain anymore. It was so dark. And then the swim was, for the age groupers, was cut short, and it was over, if I recall correctly, I think it was overcast the entire time. So it was not a very hot day in 2017. So this is the 2017 file. 2018, I ran much slower. I actually had to stop during the run. And in 2019, I thought I was running pretty bad, but I just ran less bad than a lot of people.
Was 2019 when you ran into Marshall?
Yeah, no, Marshall ran into me.
Marshall ran into you.
No, Derek ran into me.
No, you ran into me, I thought.
No.
I was stopped at the line, and you ran into me. I couldn't get out of my pedals.
Yeah.
But anyway, the run course is, like I said, the spectators are great, especially on the backside here. Over in this area, this part of town is really unique too, of Chattanooga. So a lot of support there, a lot of support on the bridge, especially in this area right here. So use that momentum. You're going to want to take every good vibe you can get, especially when you enter that second loop. And then, obviously hydrating well on the bike is going to set you up for success on the run. But you're going to want to make sure you're feeling too on the run, and having the gel, late in the late stages of the run can give you that little boost as well. Even though the amount of stores you have and you're at that moment, it may not trickle down, but just tasting the sugars is going to help you at that point.
Yeah, I think the two main things the challenges on this course, it's going to be the heat and humidity, and then the hills. You know, this course is not obscene. It's an honest course. It's probably similar to the route you run every day and you're in training, unless you live in Florida or something. But it is going to be really essential, because it's going to be hot, to run slower. You know, we all hate to go slower, but you have to listen to your body. You have to really key off of heart rate. You know your threshold heart rate, and then you obviously need to be 5 to 10 beats below that, depending on how fast you are. You know, typically 92% of threshold heart rate is where you want to be. You have to prioritize that a little bit more in hot races. However, like Derek said, what's unique about Ironmans is that every single mile you're going to have access to water and ice, and you should just take advantage of that. You should look ridiculous. Like, be shameless about it. Pour water and ice all over. Put ice down your tri-suit. It's okay if your shoes are sloshing. In the meetings with athletes, I've been talking about how, you know, it doesn't matter. Like, to stay cool, it's fine if your alpha flies are soaking wet and you're sloshing. Like, that's a good exchange. But every 7, 8, 9, 10 minutes, you're gonna have access to this water and ice, and it's a checkpoint. So it's like a little boost. So just run to each aid station, slow down, just douse yourself with water and ice, and then keep rolling. You can actually run pretty fast on a hot day at Chattanooga if you're really careful and vigilant with hydration and cooling. And then, like Derek said, Battery Lane, when you're coming off of the Greenway, is a really steep hill. When you're running up the hills, you know, use your upper body more. And just like on your bike, you know, you shift into an easier gear when you're going up a hill and spin faster, do that up the hill. So high cadence up the hill, and you'll be able to cruise up those. But especially on the second loop, be careful running up Battery Hill, because it's pretty darn steep and you don't want to cramp. So shorter stride, higher cadence, use your upper body.
And just to add, Conrad and Derek have said it for the bike and the run course. It's beautiful. It's fun. We're also going to have like 50 people on the course. So I would suggest, if you can, like, don't lose focus of your race, but definitely look to see where our teammates are, because you're going to get energy from even seeing each other. If you have 2 people, if Derek Owens and I pass each other and we're both in a really dark place, even the like, hey, how you doing? Not good. You're still like, okay, cool. Well, like, you get better. And then Derek tells me to get better. And you just like work together in that way. And you're going to get energy off of it. Give each other high fives, cheer for each other if you can. Like, anything is going to help. It's going to be so much fun seeing everybody's kits out there. So I think that that's going to be an added benefit that I've never raced with 50 people on my team before. I don't know if anybody else has. So I think it's really going to be a game changer for us.
Definitely. It's going to be awesome. And I'll be out there running around. I'm not racing, so I'll try to give everybody their positions, their placements. And if somebody's on the edge of, you know, if we think they're on the bubble of qualifying for the World Championships, I will be screaming what you have to do. And I don't lie. I'm not like, you know, you need to just go. If I say that you have to go faster, you do have to go faster. And I try to be really honest. But I think that we're gonna have a lot of people qualify for the World Champs at this race, so it'll be good. Does anybody have any questions?
One thing is, you go down Battery, you go through like this secret passage. Yep. So that can get pretty narrow. So if you're trying to go fast and it's crowded, just know that you're basically going through like a chute before you take that hard right turn. So.
Yeah, that's true. It is. It can be confusing, but there should be, you know, volunteers directing you. Yeah, definitely be cognizant of that. And there are a lot of kind of a decent number of 180-degree turns, you know, 90-degree turns here. So I always say 5 hard steps around each turn to keep your momentum going. That's going to help. And, just to reiterate, 4 p.m., the Chickamauga Dam, we'll meet for an open water swim on Friday. If you're in town, then we'll try to grab dinner. Then Saturday, meet at 11 a.m. to register. We have to register at the same time, and then we can rack our bikes in the same place. And then that evening, Food Works is our catered dinner. So that'll be a good, fun meal. And if you didn't, so we're booked up, like we hit the limit that we can have, but if you were not able to get to register to reserve one of the 70 dinner seats, you can still come. You can eat at Food Works. You can come and say hi. We can have a bunch of people there, but we can't seat more than 70. So yeah, so consider dropping by. Again, 5:30 p.m. Saturday night.
Let's get a team photo after dinner too.
Yeah, definitely. And then go on Slack. So if you're not on Slack, get on Slack. We have a 70.3 World Championships channel there. And that's where we'll try to communicate all of the team-wide communication. And then after the race, send pics if you have pics, so we can do a good post. And whenever you do a race, send pics. And it's good to send them in that Slack channel or send them to your coach. But any questions on the race or events?
Giddy up.
Yep, giddy up. Cool. Well, if anything comes up, reach out to one of us, but I think everybody's ready. Everybody did the work, so it's time to show it off. And we're just going to be a big mess. So the Multisport Festival kind of put Working Triathlete on the map. We're at the front of every race in Irving, and a lot of the officials know us now, and it's going to be the same thing at Chattanooga. We're just going to have 50 people just swarming, and we'll have a lot of athletes at the front as well as throughout the whole race, not just at the front, but there are going to be a lot of Working Triathlete kits out there, so it'll be awesome. But yeah, well, thanks for joining, and if there are no other questions, I guess we can adjourn, and we'll see everybody this week or next weekend.